goes.
Hey, good shot.
Most people know something about baseball. It's America's pastime. Well, I think it's one sport that lends itself well to being able to play it in the old way, and then people can see the contrast in between now and then. The Roosters play 1860 rule baseball, wearing period uniforms and using replica bats and balls. How we got started was in 1995. The History Center brought out the Ohio Village muffins from the Ohio State Historical Society, and they were very well received. Some of the staff and people around the History Center said we should get our own team started. And in 1997, I asked the director if I could try and start a team or a baseball program like that. We had a notice in the paper for a meeting, and quite a few people came. Everybody was a volunteer. Some of them were the seamstresses, because we made all of our own costumes and clothing. And then one person was doing the research, and so he was kind of going through the archives and newspapers to generate information on Rochester's first baseball. Rochester's first team was formed in 1867, and the name they picked was the North Star Club, or maybe it was the North Star State Club, and they changed their name to the Gopher State Club, or the Gophers. They were just called the Gophers. Well, there's a lot of Gophers teams, around the area and all over the place, so we thought that was a little bit too common. We needed our own identity a little bit more. And we considered all kinds of different things, and somebody said, how about Roosters? So that's how we got started, and we did a rooster weather vane as kind of like was our logo, and it was baseball as it was meant to be played.
The origins of baseball came from games way, way before the 1800s. It really wasn't invented by a single person, and it definitely was not Abner Doubleday. There was a game called Rounders that came over from England. There was cricket. There were town ball games. There were people playing in fields. And so it all just kind of evolved over time. And then in 1845, Alexander Cartwright started up the Knickerbocker Baseball Club in New York. And at that time, there were 20 rules scribed that weren't just rules of baseball, but actually pertained to who would be the umpire, who would be the captains of the day. There were some rules on how many paces it was between bases. They would play until the team reached 21 aces. So very basic rules. And so that's what I would consider the start of the game of baseball as we know it. And as years progressed between 1845 and the 1860s, when we play, rules were adjusted, customs were added, and it just kind of grew and grew from there. The difference between our game, a gentleman's game of the 1860s, and a current game, the key word there is gentleman's game. We don't argue about calls, we don't spit, we don't use foul language. We try to have proper behavior, and we're playing for fun. We're playing for the exercise. The outcome of the game isn't as important as the camaraderie on the field, the getting to know the other players. We're just as happy to congratulate our adversary on a great play or a great hit as we are our own teammates. And so that really is the biggest difference of the game, is that the competitiveness isn't there. There are many rule differences between our game of the 1860s and today's game. Some of the key ones are there are no balls and strikes called. The object really was for the pitcher of the time to pitch a ball where the hitter wants it. If he likes a high ball, he would ask for a high ball, because if they don't hit it, they're not going to get their exercise. Also, one of the differences is that where the ball lands determines whether it's fair or foul. It's not what happens to the ball after it hits the ground, it's once it hits the ground, it determines fair or foul. So in today's game, a ball that you hit with spin on it that lands in front of the plate and would then spin back past the catcher would be called a foul ball. In 1860, that's a fair ball because it landed fair first. So that's another difference. And one of the biggest ones that's the hardest to get used to is that this is your baseball glove. You know, it was bare hands, and if it was hit hard at you and you got your hand in the way, you know, you would tend to maybe have a finger that didn't look right. And so that does happen, but the no glove is difficult to adjust to when you're not used to it. You can put a batter out by catching the ball on one bound or one hop. You don't have to catch it in the air, and they're still considered out or dead. So I guess those would be some of the key differences.
It's a real game, and we keep score, and we don't really have a league, so we don't have standings necessarily, but you know what your record is, you know. But that's not the most important part, is your record. It's more as the teaching people about the history of baseball and while you're entertaining them, and it's for the whole family. So we're providing, you know, low-cost, wholesome family entertainment while you're educational entertainment while we raise money for the History Center.
It's one of those things where it can become an addiction. Once you go, once you play it, once you've experienced it, you kind of say to yourself, why did I wait so long? I'm not going to say it's better than going to a game today. You know, you're not going to see the star athletes. You're not going to, you know, have that same type of, oh, what a great play experience. But you're going to be entertained, and it's going to be entertaining in a different way, and it's different enough that you can do both and not have to choose between one or the other. I love baseball, and I love the game because I grew up with it. As a kid, we had a sandlot, you know, in between neighbors' houses, and we would spend hours upon hours with a stick and a ball, whatever we could find, hitting the ball, running the bases, chasing the ball. It was an easy thing to do. It's an easy game to play for fun, and it's a great way to get exercise, and there's so many different positions to play, different skill level abilities can play. I grew up with it, and I will die with it.